afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to Journey to Wholeness Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. My name is KJ Davis, and I am the founder and owner of the Journey to Wholeness Center and your host for this afternoon's show. This afternoon, we're going to keep the topic a little bit lighter. The last 2 weeks, we did a lot of work in terms of really being able to dig deep and then talking about how to become more authentically ourselves. And then last week, we brought our children in the conversation and trying to teach our children how to go within and become authentically themselves to kind of rid themselves of stress and depression, etc. So today we're going to lighten the conversation a little bit and really talk about another form of healing and another form of being able to go within, and that's through music and sound. So today I have with me Shannon Harris, who is an expert in sound therapy and music healing. He is also a healing practitioner in Qigong, traditional Chinese medicine, meditation, yoga, and the founder of a healing modality called audio pharmacology, which he will talk to you guys about today. But before we get started, I would be remiss if I did not say rest in peace to Prince, one of my all-time favorite artists, somebody who I grew up with as a teenager, looking up to. It's really interesting that we're going to talk about music because in my days of growing up and listening to Prince, he was one of the few artists that allowed me, and we talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about being able to be still, being able to go within, being able to be connected to the body. And he's one of the few artists that, I would listen to over and over again and get that peace and get that stillness and try to figure out where he was coming from in terms of, he talked about everything from love to politics to being accepted. And, so it really made you start, especially as a teenager, started shaping your own views and ideas and opinions. And just seeing the outpouring of compassion and love and support and knowing how, I wasn't alone in this, that he touched so many lives, especially in our generation. Some of the younger kids are like, Prince, who is that? Mm-hmm. But they don't have that connection to music. Their connection to music is very different than our connection in growing up. So with that said, there is definitely an energetic component to music. There is definitely a draw. There is a presence. There is a vibration. So there was something that this spirit, this awesome spirit, this soul was able to bring to the world that was able to energetically draw millions and millions of people from all over the world, even if it was only the passion that he had within him for love and what he believed in. And all of this kind of, all of these things transcends through music and sound and vibration. So I think this is a good segue to give Shannon the opportunity to really get a little bit deeper with what I'm trying to say as a listener who really hasn't studied the healing powers of music and sound and vibration. I'm just going by from a feeling sense and what music does for me and what Prince's music had done for me throughout the many, many years and many other people. But you can really speak to kind of the technicality of what's really going on when we listen to music, what's really going on when we hear various vibrations and how it impacts us mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually on all levels. So that's what I kind of want to talk to you today about. So tell us a little bit about music and sound therapy. Like what does that mean to you, and how important is it to us in our everyday lives, given the fact that it's something that we don't pay a lot of attention to. We just move to the vibration, or we move to music, and we really don't think about the impact it has on us energetically. So if you can talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, music has different components to it that gives a certain vibration or resonance. So when you say I'm feeling that tune, we speak, from our senses, which is, that song touched me, or a lot of people identify through Prince's music through his fashion. So the visual part of his performance, played a big part of that. But in going into deeper, I guess, explanation of music and what it is, in the earlier times when music was being created, it had a natural component to it that was a resonance of the culture, or the resonance of what you wanted to align yourself with. So say, for instance, let's take music back from pre-electronics,
Yeah.
pre-stages, pre-clubs,
Just basic drums.
right? Just straight drums, or flutes,
yeah.
or the voice, and if you notice, during those times when they were inventing the instruments were using natural resources, and a lot of those natural resources from different cultures gave a resonance that resonated with the sound of the environment. So you had water drums.
Yeah.
So you had, it's called the ocean drum, where you take it and it sounded like the ocean. So imagine, say, for instance, if you was a pastoralist tribal member and you wanted to take the ocean with you because you had to take your cattle thousands of miles away, and you needed a song that gave you that vibration of the ocean. You created an instrument that did that.
Yeah.
So you want to resonate with the water. Okay. And then different sounds, they have like flutes that sound like birds, and etc. So when we get into that perspective of sound was more of a ritualistic, scientific, holistic component. Nothing was invented unless it had a function. So later on, as the feel good of sound, that part got into it, and the feel good of anything that's through the senses. So the feel good of what tastes good, the what looks good, what sounds good, and etc. People begin to resonate with it and wanted it all the time, ignoring the functionality portion of it. So it was saying, okay, I like cheesecake. I'm just going to have cheesecake all the time. I like this type of music. I just want to listen to it all the time. But it didn't have, some of it doesn't have the functionality that needs to happen as far as it goes to healing. So moving up through sound with, the ancient Egyptians, or they're referred to as the Kemetic tradition, they studied the science of sound with not only nature, but with planetary alignments, with different elements, either gold, silver, different resonance principles of room structures. So like the vibratory resonance of a room like this big, what would that look like if I sent a certain frequency through it, and what would it do to your body at a time of the year, at a certain particular hour of the day? So then it evolved into song structure. So getting into different instruments, writing songs that have chords. So you had to scientifically or mathematically, because that's what really music is. It's all math and science. There is, without math and science, and which equals energy, it doesn't exist. So
But so let's stop there. That's very interesting, because I get it, but how do you link it? How do you link sound and music to math?
To math. So when
the
you
science, the beats, the numbers, the
exactly
counts. Ah,
right,
got
like
it.
right. So
Okay,
we can say
okay.
4 on the floor, 4 count, but then we go deeper than that. We say, okay, keys. Play this song is in the key of C.
Right.
So the key of C has a certain frequency resonance to it. So on the 440, if your A is tuned to 440, and I know that sounds strange for non-musicians, but what happened is I'll quickly give you a brief thing about what that is. So in order for instance, if you play trumpet, I play piano, other people in this room played other instruments, cello. In order for us to tune our instruments all together, we have to have a point of reference, and that's the A. And then we say, what? So the modern A is A equals 440 hertz. Okay. So the key of A is at 440, and then the tuning, everything else, B, C, D, on down the line goes off of that. So a C in that perspective of a 440 is 256 hertz. So when there's a big, I guess, interest in the more traditional tunings, which goes back to ancient Egyptian, and it came through Pythagoras. So the guy who we study in school, the Pythagorean theorem. Yeah. So he had a lot of his tunings to, some of his tunings were, it's called Pythagorean tuning. Some of the tunings you'll see at 8 was 432 and different things like that. And those tunings allowed spacing in between the notes that resonated with our bodies and the environment and the earth.
The rhythm of our bodies, the rhythm, because there is a rhythm, a vibration, a frequency. Even as the planets move, as the stars move, there's still cycles and vibrations and rhythms. So we're starting to get it, and then having our bodies be in tune with that, just as you described, where everybody is kind of in alignment and on key.
And it's good you said that, because you're connecting those dots. Right. So you're in key, but what do they say when it's four people singing different parts, 4-part harmony, So when we talk of harmony is in music, but in reality, harmony is being, harmonious in harmony with the universe and those cycles. So when you have those certain frequencies, just like if 3 of us were to sing 3-part harmony, you're actually resonating with other parts of your environment, other parts of, the spirit world and your cells, your DNA, and etc. when you're playing the right frequencies over a period of time.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and just as easily, those things get out of harmony and
oh yeah
when you don't. Interesting.
And that's where we have to watch. I talk about healing. I talk about emotional versus functional, and what that means. So if liking something because you like it, but you don't know what function it has in your life, then sometimes you have to question it, because when we are looking at an age where cancer is, it's like off the roof, and the doctors don't know where it's coming from, but we constantly have new inventions coming out. And what I also talk about is the electromagnetic spectrum, because every invention that's invented, it is invented via this spectrum of energy. So when we talk of electromagnetic spectrum, I'm talking about when we say, okay, the invention of a microwave. A lot of people use the microwave, but we don't really know what the microwave is. We think that's just a new, but it's not. It's that frequency of that device is why it's called a microwave.
Right.
And a cellular wave, a cellular phone. It's the frequency of that phone, the wave that they use is that makes it a cellular phone. So how do those things with our body structure, with the environment, with the planetary alignments, and just with energy, if we're using it all the time.
Yeah. And are there people studying that? Because I get that. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, especially understanding once people truly understand fundamentally that everything is energy. How does all of that energy play into each other? How does it play with each other? And are there people studying the frequencies, the vibrations, and how cell phone, how that impacts our body structure, our body chemistry, what's going on with us energetically? Is it bringing our vibration higher? Is it making it more dense? So are there people studying stuff and not here. Telling us
I brought for something for you to see. It says how a mobile phone radiation penetrates the brain. And this is a phone on someone's ear, on the left ear, and this shows you how much radiation is going through a 5-year-old and how much radiation is going through a 10-year-old and an adult.
Wow.
So there's a lot of studies that they're doing with things like that. This is also, and what I'm showing her is a picture now of what it looks like in your house or in your car, in your environment. So what I talk about also is what you don't see is there. Because when you're talking about energy, just see a cellular wave. It's there. Just because you can't see a radio wave, it's there. Just because you can't see a Bluetooth signal or Wi-Fi, both of those are still radio waves existing in our environment. And this is what that looks like. Radiation coming from your TV, from a radio, cell phone, lights, the wiring in your house, and etc. So what with the music, how that fits into this, and not to scare people, because you talk about this and people go, well, what am I to do?
Right. Because I'm gonna use my phone, and I'm gonna use the microwave, and I'm gonna watch TV before I go to bed, and
So it's like, when you have a child and the child goes to the TV like this, and you say, well, move back from the television, you're too close.
Right.
It's not good for your eyes, and it's radiation, and we used to have that little static type of thing going on. So you move back from it. So the electromagnetic, these little circle things, just so people who are listening, imagine hula hoops at different sizes. So imagine you're standing in a hula hoop, and then you have another hula hoop that's a little bigger than that, and another one that's a little bigger than that, another one was a little bigger than that. So that's the radiation radiating out. So everything has a distance, much distance, and then you're in the clear.
Right.
So moving back from different things, or placement of certain things help with that. How audio helps with that as well is the study of, well, doing, you asked the question, are people studying these things? So there's a that is being talked about called cymatics. And cymatics is the study of sound. So what they're doing in different frequencies and throwing them or resonating things with sand. And what you find is you see these sacred geometry shapes that come, like pretty beautiful
as a result of just the vibration hitting those matter objects that are considered matter. The result is different shapes.
And different shapes. And when the pure frequencies and the frequencies that we were talking about earlier that are harmonious, you get the nice sacred geometry shapes.
Wow.
The things that are like a little bit off, it's kind of like, it's a little curvy, it's not even, and things like that. So they're doing studies with that. And then to take it further, there was a doctor named Emoto who froze water after intentions were put into it or sound was put into it. And he found that different types of intention. So you saying, I love you, that energy, the water actually imprints that. And it imprints a perfect sacred geometry shape inside of it. So now there's lots of discussion to saying, okay, our bodies, because now people are saying, well, the water is moving, it's forming and via the frequencies. Our bodies and the planet is majority water. And what I talk about too is, what is a huge conductor of energy? How is energy being passed around in the environment and the earth? It's through the water.
It's through water.
So when you don't have water, energy doesn't conduct as good. And in some cases, it doesn't conduct at all.
Right.
So the water inside our bodies, we have to take in consideration, when we're resonating different types of music and frequencies or just energies, it's doing what these people are showing you. Look, when you have saying hateful things or thinking hate, it's
resonating in the body. But what they're doing is really proving it from a physical standpoint.
Exactly.
And like Wanda, when we were talking last week, talking about setting intentions and talking about telling our children that they, validating our children, telling them that they're enough, telling them that they're loved. What you're speaking to is the vibration, that sound of those words, of setting that intention, saying positive things, and how that goes into the body, and it actually resonates with all of the water is conducted through the body. And the result is, as you said, what they're studying is beauty versus the opposite. So when we have, bad thoughts, bad intentions, negativity, yelling, screaming, and all that, I'm sure that creates chaos, in the body. So it's very interesting, and it's all from sound.
Sound, which is energy.
Yeah.
So and the with children to, setting those intentions with them, and also what was a tradition, was the dinner table, and you praying over your food, and you're grateful. When a lot of us were farmers back then, we gave great intentions to the earth, right, and to the food. So food has water in it.
Yes.
Animals have water in it. So when you gave those great intentions, now you're digesting great intentional food inside of you, and that nourishment is going to nourish you. Always think of the holistic, of things. And with children, the food you're feeding them, and also, bringing back that appreciation for your meal, your appreciation for your water. And even my person in my house, I play my music and do qigong to my plants. Because, and they had studies, people say, well, you talk to your plants, they grow, better. And that's more of a carbon dioxide oxygen thing. But there's another component to that. If you have great energy, seeing people who try to grow plants and they just won't grow in their house,
right,
and it's not all the time. Did I put it in an east window? Is it a west window plant? Did I water it enough? Sometimes the energy is not right. And I've had friends where I told them about that, and we went through some different types of programs of how to, rearrange their energy space, and then their plants flourished, because plants are the first things, any, like children, plants, and animals in your house, they're going to tell you if your energy's on and off.
Absolutely.
So exactly. Yeah. So you got to pay attention to it. So right, check your plants out.
Right. Yeah. So going back to the whole, bringing music and sound and vibration. One of the things that I know, I talk about it a lot as a parent, the music that my children listen to, and the impact that it has on them, the perceived impact. Because once again, I'm not sitting there studying their matter and their water and looking at the vibrational patterns and how the music is hitting them, and but it's just judging by behavior, just by what I hear when I listen to their music and the way it makes me feel. Maybe it'll make them feel differently. But if you could just speak to about music in terms of it being a conduit of either positive even just speaking upon the types of music and the vibrations, that the frequency, the levels that we're listening to now on the radio, like more commonly with therapeutic, and and it could be just a generational thing, but I just don't think so. Their music is a little special.
Well, I'll start with this. This is a quote from Pythagoras. So it says, the highest goal of music is to connect one's soul to their divine nature, not entertainment. So, what you're seeing now is that emotional state, right? You have a lot of inventing electronics to make the music. And then you have the people who are making the music, from a very just emotional standpoint. So they're getting on the mic and just saying whatever they need to say. They don't have any real intentions, but just to release emotion. So now that emotion is just coming through to you. And when it touches you, you're like, oh, that doesn't resonate with me, because I'm used to hearing at least have great intentions. And music you listen to had more live instrumentation, more musicianship,
and from the heart.
Right.
So there are two things, not to cut you off, because I like where you're going with this, but we just did a workshop at the Journey to Wholeness Center called Conscious Choices. And one of our practitioners spoke about creating from the heart versus creating from a place of ego. Now, what I'm hearing in terms of a lot of the music is a creation from the place of ego and wanting to be rich, wanting to be famous. I just want to get paid. I just want to make money. And that sounds very differently than the creation of someone who is really creating from a place of intention, a place of the heart, a place, where you can feel them energetically or vibrationally. And I think that is kind of what you're speaking to a little bit.
Exactly. And in addition to that, we have to look at the transition, or the transformation of what a modern musician is now versus back then.
Right.
When you're learning music theory and you're learning math, but it's not just the music theory and the math you're learning, that initiation process that you're going through to create a song. If you're going to go pick up a guitar, you have to learn, these chords and things like that. So you develop a passion. You have to develop a serious passion for it. So they got apps on their phone. I'm going to spit what I want to say. And then, there's no initiation process. There's no talent. There's no development. There's not a lot of mentors in, mentoring young children, or even some of the adults who's making this type of music, to tell them, I hear you, but, what is the doing?
Purpose.
Yeah. And
the intention, the purpose.
And that comes from that heart thing, because you have to be connected to some divine source to have that purpose. Don't have that connection. You're just playing. That's what you have. You're just playing. It's like a child.
That's what the lyrics sound like today. It just sounds like little jingles that,
It's a lot of cheerleader music.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Just no intention, no heart.
Yeah.
No creativity. And creativity comes from the soul. It comes from the spirit. It comes from the heart. And that's what's missing. It's the creativity.
And another thing I learned, just doing music for a long period of time too, because when you're trying to get into the music industry, and a lot of things, the music industry is just a whole nother ball game, So
business.
The things you have to deal with, a passion for music, that passion can drive you, to have to develop a thick skin to come from that ego standpoint, right? Because you're being torn down all the time. You're being, there's a lot of things you're trying to get put on, and you're working to do it. So what I learned along the way is there is no passion without compassion.
Yeah.
Passion comes from compassion.
Compassion, absolutely.
So
absolutely
when you have the
agree.
compassion part, which you're not hearing in that music, or seeing a lot of, then that passion, because a lot of these people they're passionate about what they're doing, but they don't have compassion.
Right.
So they're not caring about the effects of what they're saying today on the generation, or how it's impacting the world. They have no ideology of just anything outside egos, which is themselves.
So Shannon, how do we, or do we, what I'm looking for or trying to understand is there should be evolution in everything. And sometimes I feel like we've gone so far off track and understanding the impacts of music and the vibration and what we're putting out there, and accountability and creativity. And I know there are still lots and lots of people who still play instruments, who still write from the heart, where that creativity and that passion is still there, but it's not reaching the masses. So, at what point do we, or what can we do to kind of shift that back? Is that more of a collective consciousness thing? We bang down the record company, record labels doors and say, we want to go back to, so what is it that you being a part of this whole music and sound thing from a really fundamental but intellectual perspective? What is it that needs to change or can change in order to get us back to intention, to get us back to heart, to get us back to creativity, or even to get our children to understand those terms and concepts, because they're so swept away by their technologies and by this egocentric music, etc. Is there a way to kind of get back to the center?
Yes, and we had the discussion at a workshop, I think 2 weeks ago. But what has to happen in order, even myself, like how I got into veganism or TCM, I had to hit what I call a brick wall. So what's happened in society is it has to get very bad, which I know we don't want to really suffer from, environmental.
But we're doing it now. I mean, we're suffering now. So
yeah, but it's going to get worse, because
I agree.
as we ignore the environment and everything like that, it has to get really bad. So a big majority of the world hits a brick wall together, because we're hitting
collectively.
Them. Yeah,
absolutely.
We're hitting them kind of like you hit yours, I'm hitting mine, and we're coming together. But it's not too many people, because and then on top of that, we have to think about, when you speaking of the stations and things like that, radio and TV is what is programming people to go buy these devices, or have egos, or don't feel happy unless they have material items. So when you're talking about returning to the center, you're talking about basically a divine purpose. You are here.
That's exactly what it is.
For a divine purpose.
Yes.
And really taught.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? When you go to school, it's like you need to learn social studies.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week. Absolutely. and that we're not taught authentically who we are, and we don't teach it to our children either.
And in fact, when I was doing music, I was always doing but I didn't have the meditation component. I didn't have the health component. So I was just pushing, trying to do it, and it was working, but I just was never happy, because the holistic part wasn't there until I began to study with an organization that taught you, how to, it taught you how to meditate and things like that, but it taught you your divine purpose here, is to become so when you're trying to excel, and that's a high thing, when you say come divine, hey, what do you mean?
Right.
But you have to push high, because if you say, well, I'm just trying to, get paid.
Get paid.
You know what I'm saying? Then that is a low,
Absolutely, a very low bar.
yeah, to reach. But if you're trying to become a divine being, or you're trying to do great things in the world, through philanthropy or through volunteerism, through opening a center like yourself is doing, there comes a bigger responsibility.
Absolutely.
And there comes some integrity that you have to, present. So those are the things that are not being taught. And when we say radio, if you listen to how they say radio and describe it, or describe television, they say TV program, radio program. So they're programming you. All of these things that are happening in society, even through schools, it's being programmed.
Intentional.
Yeah, it's intentional programming. So what we have to do is slowly, what you're seeing are people waking up, but you got to start cutting things off. You got to stop. Okay, I can't eat this no more. I grew up to this, but this is not, serving me. So this goes to the side now.
Right.
And the reason why I really push, because audio pharmacology is a holistic modality that touches not just on audio and sound, it touches on all the different senses with that. So I deal with light, with touch, with smell and things as well, because all of those things energetically have frequencies.
Absolutely.
So
they have to come together and be harmonious together.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you brought up, or you talked a little bit about, you just mentioned audio pharmacology. So tell me a little bit about just, in your path, your journey, like how did you uncover the true healing powers of vibration, of music, which led you to the discovery of audio pharmacology, which is a healing modality, right?
Yes.
So if you could just tell us a little bit about your journey, and then share with us audio pharmacology and exactly what do you mean by that, and a tool that can be implemented, that people need to be aware of, in terms of the holistic approach, and be able to make better choices in terms of what it is that they listen to, what it is that they do differently, and understanding how sound impacts all of those things.
Sure. So, okay, it started, well, I brought a picture of me. See me now, and that's majority of the people who've seen me do this whole holistic approach,
Journey,
or journey. They see like me now. So a lot of people say, well, you look really young for your age, man. You're blessed with good DNA. And I'm sitting there like, man, they don't know that 15 years of, trying to
the work.
Yeah.
They don't see the work.
Yeah. It's yes, I'm blessed, but I just brought a picture. I showed, that is me at Disney World. Can you see that? So what I did a lecture, and I showed different pictures of me, and so basically what had happened is I was on a traditional, successful, quote unquote, successful journey in my life. So I went to school, I did like top companies, bought a house, got married, went on vacations, DJ, toured around the world, put out stuff. And, I did everything. And I ended up getting bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome. And bilateral carpal tunnel syndrome, is when, you can't use your hands because the carpal tunnel that the nerve goes through is pinching it. So it hurts so bad that you just can't use your hands. So not being able to use both of my hands. And from there, I realized something has to change. That was the brick wall. So I then went to a doctor who was, he was he was a cold guy. When I walked in, he was just ragging on me the whole time. He's like, wow, you're big.
Wow.
And I was just like, man, why are you saying these offensive things? And I didn't come here to be like, chastised. So, but he was telling the truth. So at the time, my wife was my girlfriend, and she was in the room. He's like, don't cook this guy any, you got to cut that out. And he was like, do you run? Do you play basketball? Do you do something? I was like, what does this do? Like, I was really offended. But then I slowly cut out the meat and I slowly started riding a bike. And then I realized, wow, I have so much energy and etc. to do all the different things I was doing even better. So, to fast forward, learning how to meditate and learning about traditional Chinese medicine, learning about veganism, learning about energy and all these things. How audiopharmacology came about is because I was already into music very extensively, and I saw how it can move, inspire, just like how Prince can move you. Same thing. I've experienced that where I can play this tune.
People are just moved and
in a zone, and you can actually program them to move the way you want to move them at the drop of a EQ. It's amazing because you have these intentions at home. And you're just sitting there like, I'm going to play this tonight. I'm going to play this. And no one knows you're going to play. And then you're there and it goes the way you intentionally want it to go. Sending out that reverberation of energy.
And having a passion for it yourself.
Yeah. So when I got into Qigong, I was doing Qigong to the music that came, with the system I was using. But then I was like, you know what? I think I need to align. Because the missing component, I had the food and everything else. I was like, I need to align my music with my health practices. Mm-hmm. So let me see what energy is in the organs of the Qigong system, the 5-element system. So,
and I'm just going to pause because there's a lot of listeners that are not familiar with Qigong. So if you can give us a 2-second spiel on what Qigong is.
Okay. I know what Tai Chi is. So Qigong is the mother of Tai Chi. It's a system.
And Tai Chi, for people who don't know, movement of energy.
Yeah. So both of those systems were started by the Shaolin Temple monks. So it's a system where it's energy cultivation. Yeah. So what you're doing is it goes by what you call traditional Chinese medicine, when I say TCM system, which is aligning with, if you heard of acupuncture or meridians. And if you don't know what acupuncture meridians are, just imagine you have a house and you have plumbing. So you have a line that goes from your bathroom down to the sewer system. So say that line is a meridian, and let's just say that line is the meridian for your kidney. And then, you have one for your lung, you have one for your stomach, and etc. So what Qigong is, it's a system of movements of color and of sound that does tonification and purification of those meridians and those organs. So you're cultivating the energy to keep them in balance, because in that system, it's about balance. You have a yin and a yang. So think of a plus and a negative, and you want to be in the center.
And for our listeners who had tuned in a couple of weeks ago, this really goes hand in hand with what we talked about when we talked about emotional freedom technique with Safia, because she talked about tapping on the meridians. Mm-hmm. So, and I just want to kind of reference that back, that meridians that we're talking about here. So if you guys want to look up meridians and really begin to become familiar with how important the meridian points are within your body, that would be a great idea. So keep going, Shannon. But I just want to
keep going about.
Well, and Qigong is just the physical. So you can move the energy through the meridians physically. You're saying through meditation and through movement.
Right. Yeah. You cultivating the energy that is the resonance energy of that organ system. Yes. So what I wanted to do is enhance it. I said, I want steroids. I want the music to be resonating with that organ. I get into things really deep. So I want to know how it works. I want to pick it apart, dissect it, and then create it.
Okay.
So audio pharmacology came from that system originally. From doing Qigong, I began to study and do a lot of research on what's the resonant frequencies of our different organs in our bodies.
Yeah.
And then research how, I can make music that enhances that resonance. So if the resonance of your lung, for instance, which is 220 hertz, is shot at you while you're doing some energy cultivation, it got to be like really,
really
great.
intense.
Yeah.
Right,
So,
right.
so that's how it got started, and how music can heal. In that perspective is when your body is out of tune or off balance.
Yes.
What music does earlier about how that water resonance, that sacred geometry, and that energy inside of you, it reintroduces that resonance frequency, because everything has a primary resonance frequency inside your body, from cells, blood, tissue, bone. And what it does is it introduces that resonance frequency back into your body, so then it can enhance the alignment and the
And the
balance.
balance. Okay.
Yeah.
It brings you back to the center.
Yeah. So that's what it really does.
Awesome. So in terms of audiopharmacology, like how do you use that to help you physically help people in terms of healing and therapy using that method, which is a holistic method, a holistic of combining all of those frequencies and vibrations and in tune with, like you said, with your mind, body, spirit, just everything, having everything in vibration, in tune, balancing. So like like if someone came to you and said, I want to do some music therapy, I want to do some sound therapy, I want to feel what it is that you're talking about, what is it that you do?
Okay, so I have different types of things I do, but the biggest thing is called the sound shower. So baths. A lot of people don't go on baths.
We do them at the center. Yep.
Right. So what I do, I call it a sound shower, because I introduce a lot of different instruments outside of the gong perspective. But I have a system of these healing forks, tuning forks, and healing chimes that are tuned to the human organs. They're drainals. I have some that are tuned to DNA, the nucleotides of DNA. I have some that are tuned to like the 432 hertz. And then when you talk about mind, body, and spirit, because that's more of the physical nature of the body, I have tuning forks that are tuned to the Kemetic tree of life. So that's that when people are trying to ascend to their spiritual self, or talk of like archangels, Orisha, Neteru. I do that type of attunement as not attunement, but but toning as well. So also I have this system that I've been using and been getting like amazing results, which is deep tissue and muscle sound massage. So I've been going to several like professional masseuses, professional naturopaths, and having them experience it, their pain and etc., and it knocks it out super quick. We're saying resonance, inside of our body. When we speak of resonance, rather, just imagine if I was to put a huge Jamaican sound system, the Jamaican bass sound system in this room.
Yeah.
So when I talk of primary resonance frequency, there's a thing called force resonance. And with sound, if somebody's shooting even that to you, talking about to you, you're going to resonate with it. There's no way to cut it out, because it's just going to hit you, and your body has tissue. So it's just going to do something. It's going to do something to you.
Right.
So what Qigong masters do is they build up their energy. So, like I've seen some that can actually touch this piece of paper and set it on fire. I've seen some that can put a light bulb in their hand and cut it on. They had this one guy, he was running on top of water on wood planks. They can stand on their hand, stand on a finger instead of people doing a handstand. They build their energy inside of them. Right. So when all of these different resonance frequencies or different things come towards them, they can resist it. And I actually saw some who actually build up body so well that when a person takes a sword and hits it into their body, it bends it. So with that system, I also include Qi Kong, my modality, as well as with the healing. So we start with doing Qi Kong moves, which I've been learning different types. I have this new type I've learned. It's like really awesome. It has this spinal breathing thing going on with it. So I have the client start off with the Qigong with meditation. Of course, when they come in environment, there's going to be a resonance frequency that's going to be setting the tone when they come in. And I also have these, what they call home shields. So they send 230 plus bioenergetic resonant frequencies in the environment. So it's sending, like when those who brings in a negative energy, I'm sending out positive energy. So what I do is we go through that. I put the client in a zero gravity. They sit in the center of the sound shower, which has the 15 human organ chimes, and then it has 11 Netaru chimes, and then it has 432 and a couple other chimes. So it's over like 27 different chimes. So you sit and it looks like a shower, pipes and things. And then, I have what is called an Atlantis gong. And that is how the session begins with those to get you to your organs, your blood, your adrenals, your DNA, and etc.
And you'll be able to physically feel the energy, won't you? Because I've done a music therapy session, and it hasn't been as intense as what you're describing. And the way that I described it, as during that session, it was a vibrational healing session, and during that session, it literally felt like you were having a massage on the inside. You can really feel tension releasing, stress releasing. It's relaxing. So, and I'm sure that experience paled in comparison to what you're. And for our audience, and on Saturday, this Saturday, so it's perfect timing that we have Shannon here. Sunday, not Saturday, Sunday. This Sunday from 3 to 5 at the Journey to Wholeness Center, we are going to have Shannon do an audio pharmacology workshop. So that is going to be at the center, 9501 New England Avenue. If you want more information, please log on to our website. We do still have spots available. So please log on to our website at journeytowholeness.org and get more information about the workshop. And we would love to see you in the place. So Shannon, up and tell us what the participants can expect when they come to the workshop on Sunday.
Man, it's going to be really nice. Actually, this is going to be the first group therapy session that I'm bringing all the human organ chimes out, all the Netaru chimes, the gong. I'm bringing frequency generators, the resonance frequency thing. It's going to be really nice. Yeah. And I usually am famous or known for just doing the lectures. So I'm going to cut the lecture a little bit and do more of the work.
The sound shower.
So people can experience the instruments and experience the feeling and walk away with, being, more in line with their mind, body, and spirit.
So awesome. I cannot wait. So we are going to wrap it up, and I thank you all for tuning in to Journey to Wholeness Radio. As always, please stop by the Journey to Wholeness Center. Come check us out. We have a workshop going tomorrow, Saturday, on healing crystals and gemstones, and that workshop is from 1:30 till 3 tomorrow. And then once again on Sunday, we'll have Shannon Harris, who will do the audio pharmacology sound shower. So please come by and check it out. I think it's going to be an amazing workshop and a great opportunity, especially if you're interested in music and sound and vibration, to check out what we've been talking about today. It's going to be a great workshop. So thank you, and you all have a wonderful afternoon. We'll talk to you next week on Journey to Wholeness Radio on IntellectualRadio.com. Thank you.
Thank you.